Hey guys, I have not done a video in such a long time. Happy Memorial Day. Today's Monday, Memorial Day, and finally a beautiful day. It's about 1:20. Sun's out. Not too hot, but nice. Just wanted to check in how you guys been. I hope everybody's been doing well. It's been such an adventure. So that was Justin. I forgot all my jewelry, so I had to come bring it down anyway. But like I was saying, it has been quite some eventful things happening or not happening, or yeah. Oh gosh, here he is again. Well, hey guys. Well, again, I was interrupted by a phone call. So, as I was saying, there's been a lot happening. Well, pretty my personal life has just been a lot. I think the last time we spoke, I had just gotten back from Costa Rica, which was absolutely fabulous. And I know I've shared with you guys, that this is my yes year, my 50th birthday year. And so I've just kind of been opening myself to just saying yes. And so I have kind of actively started dating again. And so, with that being said, that kind of means that I'm challenging myself to say yes to going out on dates. And I'm not trying to put like a whole like criteria of like what a person is, as looks like, and all that sort of stuff. And it's been fun, it's been interesting. Met a couple interesting people. Nothing that is gonna probably turn into anything too serious or whatever. But it's just kind of fun to just kind of get your I don't want to say that, but just kind of get back into the flow of things again, which I think I needed to do. One, because it has been a long time that I've like actively been dating. I've gone out on dates, periodically, but not like, and I guess I'm still going out on dates. I'm not dating any one person, or anything like that. So I'm going out on dates. And I went to a concert recently. I've gone, and I know some people are. So this is one of the things that's kind of like new to me at this stage in my life. Like when I was younger, I would always, not always, but I would take dates with people that I knew I had no interest in, seeing or whatever, because it gave you something to do. I mean, I know this probably sounds bad, but I know there's some ladies out there, because I know there's a couple of people that I know. We always figured if you went on a date, it was at least a free meal, which is not good, I guess. Sorry, I was young, whatever. But now my time is worth more than that, right? So I don't really want to commit my time to anybody for just a free meal if I can't, if I don't like you at all, right? There has to be something there for me to commit to a whole meal and that time that it's going to require. So I've gone out on a couple coffee dates. Like I said, I went to a concert, which was obviously a much longer time, but that person was a much more interesting person, and like the same kind of music, so it was kind of fun to do that. And then recently on Friday night, I went out, and it was a kind of a dinner date, really casual, and that was just that was just not a good date. I think what I realized, and I knew that I had some. So here's a little lesson, right? When I was younger, absolutely would ignore red flags. I would see red flags, something would kind of, make me suspicious or cautious or cause me to have concern. But I always thought, and I think like a lot of, young people, right? Like you think that, that'll change, or I can change it, or, maybe it's nothing or whatever, right? But what I learned early was that I should listen to my instincts and I should pay attention to red flags. And because I had been in a long-term relationship for so long, I wasn't obviously dating, so I didn't have to worry about red flags, even though I should have paid attention to those red flags. But nonetheless, during that course of, almost 2 decades, I wasn't dating, so I didn't have to put that into practice. But I always held on to that idea that, or knew that anytime you see a red flag or something that, makes you have concern, or your instincts, your, womanly instincts are telling you something, that you should probably pay attention to it. And so when I was talking to this gentleman, something he said, and I'll tell you guys, like, he said he was divorced, I think, for maybe 5 years or so, probably less than that, I think about 5 years. But like on our very first conversation, one of the things he said, he was like, I'm really good friends with my ex-wife, and she's really important to me, and I'm not gonna, I would not have her in my life for anybody, right? Which, again, we're not in anything, so you don't have to take anybody out of your life because of me, right? But word of caution to myself was, oh, okay, that's interesting. I have an ex, we have a child, and honestly, if I've met the right person and that right person was just absolutely that person, but there was some sort of an issue for my ex being in my life, and I don't think that, and so when he said it, it was like, oh, they have conversations 3-4 times a week. He knows, he was telling me about all of her who she was dating and what was going on in her life, and he immediately was telling his ex about me and all that stuff, which I'm telling, like I said, that was like, yeah, I can tell you right now that this is going no place, right? But this was over the phone, so I was like, let's just see. So we had asked, we had said that we were going to ask each other questions that we had about each other pretty early, and be honest about it. And we just had, and I appreciated the fact that he was like, you can ask, exaggerating. I think within the first 30 minutes of the conversation, like he kept telling me about like how the ex was, and how she was telling him about what her new boyfriend is doing, and how come she couldn't appreciate that in him when he was doing it. And it was just a lot about, I really feel like the date was a venting session. So like I said, I had, we were there for dinner, and yeah, we were there for dinner. So this is why I don't like dinner dates on the first date, because you're kind of not stuck, because I could have obviously gotten up to leave at any time if I wanted to, but you're kind of like, okay, well, yeah, this is a lot of nothing here. So I kind of heard him out or whatever, and I'm just listening, because it's just, again, reinforcing what I had already really thought. And so I was like, okay, well, I really know that this is not gonna happen here. So at that point, I was just, I think I had even slouched in my chair, which I thought to myself afterwards, like, I wasn't interested, because one of the things that I like to do, I like a first date, and I like dating because it is about, that first impression. Everybody's excited about it. You want to kind of put your best foot forward and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely, am mindful about, what I look like, and, what the vibe is like, and all that sort of stuff on a first date. At that point, when he was talking about that and saying all that, I know that I had kind of slouched in my chair, like it was like a whatever moment, right? Which was my body language, like, this ain't going nowhere fast. Yeah. So needless to say, we ended the date. We talked about some stuff or whatever, but it really, can you just come out? I'm trying to get in a parking space. It really was not gonna go much further than the end of that night. And I didn't want to say it like right then and there, because I don't know, I'm still not that, I'm not rude like that. I thought that would have been rude or mean. Um, and this person, I mean, this is within, a couple of weeks, kept saying, oh, you've made me the happiest I've been in like 10 years. And which is, it's too much. It's too much, right? Like, you don't know me that well enough to say I've made you the happiest, because you haven't even seen me mad. You haven't seen me upset or depressed, or, in my, whatever the case may be. You don't know me enough, I guess, to put all that credit, I guess. I mean, I was like, I don't think it was me. I think, maybe you were just open to meeting somebody else. But whatever the case might be, it was a lot of stuff that, like I said, made me say that I don't think that this was going to work. So at the end of the night, there was a, very informal, very romantic hug, side hug. And potentially, I guess he had thought that we would maybe go out again. So the next day, I was contemplating whether or not, like, how do I end this thing, because I got a text, the next day about how great it was. And I was like, yeah. So I was going back and forth between, because I had seen this, and I think his name is Anwar White on TikTok. And I like him so much because he gives dating advice, right? But he had said that when you're gonna, it's not even break up, when you're not interested in a guy, like, you don't give him too much, you don't owe them any explanation, which I absolutely agree, because I was sitting in my head thinking about how I was gonna say it and why I was gonna say it and all these things, and I'm like, I don't know you that well to give you that much of an explanation. So ultimately he texted me this long thing like, hey, I hope you're not ghosting, because I hadn't returned any of the calls and text messages that he had sent me earlier that day. And so he was like, I hope you're not ghosting me, and I hope everything's okay, and da 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 da. And then I waited a couple hours because I really was busy. I had the kids over. We were doing stuff. I was out and about, so I wasn't gonna stop my life to answer that. So when I finally did respond, I just basically said, listen, I think that he said, I hope you don't have, he even said, I hope there was no issues about, me and my ex, because I really am over her. So that to me was my opening to say, yeah, I did have issues. I said, thank you for the date, but I do have issues with you and your ex. Not about like an insecurity, not from coming from insecurity point of view or jealousy point of view, but I think you just are not over her yet. And so I just know that that's not something that I'm wanting to deal with right now, where I am in my place in life, right? And then he, of course, texts back like, no, I'm really over her, whatever. I really like you, da 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 da. And I just, politely said, I'm sure, he even mentioned, because we had talked about like, some travel or whatever. So I told him, like, I had my list of destinations that were going down by the alphabet. And since obviously I went to Costa Rica, the next one would be a D. And he had asked me, oh, have you ever thought about traveling to Dubai? And I was like, yeah, because the next letter on my list is D. So I was like, I guess I can either go to Denver or Dubai. So with that, he texted me. The second text back on the following day after our date was, oh, just to let you know how serious I was about you, or how much I like you. I even went to a travel agent to get information about, a trip to Dubai, whatever. And I was planning on saving up for that trip or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but like, like, again, only 2 weeks. That's too fast. Like, what are you doing? I'm not traveling across the world, or planning to travel across the world with somebody that I've only known for 2 weeks. So, I just returned a text like, that's very thoughtful. However, like I said, I'm sure that there's somebody out there that's going to be a better connection for you. And I wish you all the best. And that was it. And that's how it, I just kind of said, no, I don't want to, I don't want to be mean, but I also didn't want it to like go back and forth, because I didn't owe any explanation. There were other issues too, which I'm not going to get into, that, just, one, because I know as a bigger girl, dark skinned lady, woman, that there are some prejudgments about, you and, people who might be attracted to you or not, and all these sorts of things. He made a comment that I didn't quite like it, not about, it wasn't directly to me, but he had mentioned like, oh, back in the day, I could get any girl that I want. I would always get the baddest thing around, and da 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 da. And then, like, not, maybe it was me, I just took it like, now that he's older, and he's like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. Now I don't care about looks. And I'm like, bruh, I'm not no, you know, side of tuna or whatever, right? Like, okay, well, whatever, which is fine. Which is what made me text back, like, I know my worth. So I may not be your type, but I am a type. And that's quite okay, because you're not really physically my type either. Which kind of led to the reason why, if there was one red flag and the other stuff wasn't clicking, I wasn't going to waste my time. Needless to say, yeah, there was no love connection there at all, and any glimmer of any sort of possible thing there was kind of lost after that first one date. So, like I said, I've been dating, going on dates. That one was probably the most uncomfortable and cringy one of them all. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna like not continue, because it has been fun. I will say that it has been fun, talking and meeting people. You know, all the things that dating does for you, or does. It gives me a chance to go outside, and like I said, I think at this space where I am so totally comfortable with the woman that I am in my life and who I am in my own happiness, that dating doesn't it's not like, not I'm gonna say it doesn't add value, but it doesn't. It is something that I would love to continue, but it's so not like my happiness and the view of myself is so far removed from what someone else's opinion of me is. It feels so good to finally be living and walking in that kind of a space, that I think that in it of itself just exudes a level of like confidence, and like, I don't have to, I'm not going to be bothered with anything that I'm not going to be bothered with. I'm like totally happy with the life that I have and that God has blessed me with. That, adding to having someone else come into my life is simply really extra and a bonus. And I'm grateful for, where I am, and I hope that it, does happen. But because of that, means that I don't have to settle for, or tolerate, or put up with, or just kind of idly entertain anything that I'm not willing to do that. And it feels good to be in that kind of a position. So I'm going to continue on this dating venture, and this new aspect or part of my life, and I will continue to let you guys know how that goes. And yeah, so anyway, I'm at the mall. I just wanted to, I have a couple gift cards and some stuff that I wanted to check out. I'm going to go to Bath and Body Works, and then I'm going to go to Soma's, and then I probably will walk through Macy's, because I don't really even need anything. I just want to be outside, and it's such a pretty day. I think the kids, I don't know if they want to, there's something happening at Hermosa Beach, and it's a pretty day. I don't want to go like on the sand, but I do want to go to like whatever they have outside. So I'll probably do that a little bit later, and I feel bad because I should have picked up my parents. They wanted to go to San Pedro, but my sister said she was going to take them. She didn't take them, and I hadn't planned on like going in that direction. So I was trying to see if I can get them out of the house like next weekend. But anyway, that's it for now. I'll check back in with you guys in a few when I'm in the mall, if I feel like picking up this camera. If not, I will let you guys know how the day's been going. So see you in a minute. Bye. Well, let me turn this ear off because this is loud. Well, let me see. I just finished having lunch. I went to El Torito's. I just wanted to stop and get some tacos and maybe a margarita. And I sat at the bar, which I normally don't do. And I met an interesting gentleman. I don't know, yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was a nice little afternoon having a conversation with somebody. But this is what I'm talking about when I said earlier in the video that I wanted to say yes to doing things and like venturing outside of my comfort zone. I don't think I said all that, but that's what I meant by saying yes, right? It was not like, oh, if anybody asks me anything, I'm gonna say yes to. But if it was really like something that I wanted to do this afternoon, and although I go out to lunch by myself, I usually get a table, right? And I usually have something with me, like my journal or a book or something, just kind of so that I'm just not sitting there. And this time I didn't have anything with me, and I just, except for me, I just said I'm gonna go ahead and sit at the bar and, you know, have some tacos and a margarita. And we struck up a conversation with somebody, you know. Again, these are not, you know, things that are like, oh, this is the one, and these kinds of things. They're just kind of like, sorry, not sure where the traffic is coming from. But just kind of like those, I don't want to cut in front of him. You know, just kind of getting the jitters out. I guess for somebody who hasn't been dating and stuff like that. So it was fun. It was nice to like, I mean, and I'm usually pretty comfortable having conversations with people. So normally when I, you know, if you strike up a conversation with me, we'll usually be able to talk about something. And then it turns out that I guess, of course, he's an LA native, so he grew up in a similar area that I grew up in, and had family close to where my parents live. So, you know, just interesting. Like I said, we did exchange, you know, telephone numbers. I don't know, I'm gonna call him or anything like that. But it was nice for a Monday afternoon, unexpectedly. And so that's that. I did intentionally kind of put on an outfit because I do not want to be in the house on Memorial Day weekend. So I don't quite know what else I'm going to do. But I think I'm going to go pick up Milo, the doggy, and get me a jacket and go down by either Hermosa Beach or Long Beach and see what's happening outside. And then, you know, just kind of spend the afternoon outside. The house is clean, you know. We cooked yesterday, and there's pretty much nothing else for me to be able, you know, do really around the house. Did he bring this bike down with no wheel? And so I just kind of want to, you know, like I said, be outside, enjoy the afternoon. I think I'm gonna go by Long Beach. You know, that's like my favorite thing to do. I think I'm gonna go by Long Beach. And so guys, it's actually the next day, and I was just rambling about something else. But I wanted to show you guys my sister's birthday. So I'm adding this footage because we celebrated Natalie's birthday. Actually, it's a couple weeks back before Memorial Day. Well, a week before Memorial Day. But I did want to kind of add that to it so you can kind of see like what we did that weekend. We had a lot of fun. We went to a restaurant that we had gone to before. But it was totally a fun evening. Here is just me leaving the hair shop, so I didn't really leave the audio, and I just needed a transition to get to the new video. So that's what you guys are going to see next. I forget the name of the place. Oh my god, it was a Mexican restaurant, but it was so much fun. So much fun. Well, guys, that was the end of our night. It was kind of crazy. We went out to someplace else, but I didn't get any footage of the club that we had gone to. But anyway, that was Natalie's birthday, and this is the end of the video. Thanks you guys so much for sticking by and watching everything and getting caught up with us. I will talk to you guys soon. Hope you're doing well. Be kind to each other. Take care of yourself. Until next time, thanks for hanging with the Middletons. See ya. Bye.